Mr. Chairman, we're ready to start.
Joe, thank you, and thank you for setting this up. Welcome to the ALCOSAN Advisory Committee's Zoom meeting of April 19th. This meeting is being recorded. We just came out of a brief session. Max, you were at that session. And are you comfortable with the quality of that meeting?
Yes, I'm not even sure if we have a quorum just yet. So, I mean, the discussion was just about a call for action for getting additional individuals to apply for the seats. Right now, we have 18 members. We have 21 spaces, 3 in each sewer shed. So we do have some vacancies and encourage anybody watching in public or members of the committee to encourage other people to attend. The other discussion as we were waiting to get up to a quorum was just a general discussion as to our task. There is no action that was taken or no motions or anything else. And therefore we can proceed with the roll call vote.
Thank you, Max. Stevie, you want to do a roll call?
Good afternoon, all. Nick Bianchi. Lisa Werder-Braun.
Here.
Lloyd Cunningham.
Here.
Dan DeMarco.
Here.
Patricia DeMarco. Tina Doucet. Ariam Ford Graver. Nick Resock. Mark Heckman.
Here.
Rebecca Kernan. Ken Lasada.
He's waving yes.
Ruthie Ann Omer.
Present.
Stanley Paps. Will Pickering. Mary Ellen Ramage.
Here.
Tim Rogers.
Present.
Kathy Sapp. Danielle Francesca.
Here.
We have 9.
Unfortunately, with 18 seated members, we need 10 for a quorum. So we will have to postpone action on our action item and we'll conduct this meeting, as it were, without a quorum and just for discussion purposes only. No official actions can be taken until we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Darla, could you send out to us where the vacancies, which sewer sheds the vacancies are?
Yes,
It
I
appears
will.
North Hills is covered, so.
I will. And then there are some sewer sheds that are not covered at all.
Okay.
And
Maybe we can find somebody in those sheds.
and I'll do that. All recommendations, Max, need to come through the county executive's office. So anything just sent to me and my attention would be great. And I'll send that out post haste.
Thank you. Follow up to a virtual public meeting on Act 537 study. Kim, floor is yours.
Thank you. So since our last meeting, we did hold 2 virtual public meetings to roll out the 537 plan for the regional tunnel system. They went very well. It was on Wednesday, March 30th in the morning and then again in the evening. That, like I said, that officially opened up the public comment period. So between that Wednesday and the following Monday, we did receive 8 comments through the website, but we haven't received any since then. So we got a nice influx right after the meetings, and then it's been quiet. The plan is available on our website. There is a form if anybody would like to submit comment on the website. You can also email comments to public.relations@alcosan.org or just mail them directly to us. We, of the 9 municipalities where we need resolutions, we've gotten 7. So we're doing pretty well on our resolutions. And then also, I just wanted to remind everybody that any comments, the comments along with a response will be incorporated into the plan when it is resubmitted formally to the agencies this summer. So if you're interested, please go ahead and submit your comment. And I believe that period is going to close. It's only for 30 days. So that's going to close on April 30th, which is a Saturday. So just a couple more weeks. And that's all I had.
Kim, quick question. I'm still struggling with the concept of building tunnels and only using them in wet weather. Mary Ellen and I have at the discussions. We're convinced that if the new tunnels were made available to direct flow, that would relieve all of our backflow issues. Can you explain why the tunnels are only wet weather tunnels?
I can talk with our team and get back to you, Tim. I
That'd be
wouldn't want
great.
to just say something that wasn't well thought out and complete. So let me take that question back to the team and put something together for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. My thought is that the tunnels all go to the same place. And if the tunnels were made live and usable at all times, it would, we're the low end, we being the Ross, Shaler, Etna line, or we're called the low end of the system, we're told. And it causes us to get a very quick backup in the system. So we'd appreciate some answer to that. Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Any other questions for Kim?
Thanks, Tim.
Sure. Hearing none, let's go to the Clean Water Plan Environmental Compliance Program. Michelle Buys.
Okay, hello, good afternoon. So I would like to just share my screen. I haven't done this with this platform, but I'm just going to try real quick. Do you see the pie chart? Okay.
Yeah.
So so I just wanted to share a little bit about, environmental compliance at ALCOSAN. And I know this is about the Clean Water Plan, but on dry days here, our requirements to report and to be in compliance are ongoing, as you all know, because you all have permits that likewise. Most of our, permit reporting most of our reporting is through our permits, through our MPDS permit, our biosolids permit, our air compliance permits, and we have a total about 153 annual submissions to the government that are certified by Arletta on the compliance that we do here at ALCOSAN. The consent decree part of that is about 22 reports on an annual basis that is certified and sent to the federal, state, and local government. A lot of our heavy lifting is done in the first quarter, and I want to commend all of our municipalities for helping us submit the waste load management report to the PADEP on time. The history of that with ALCOSAN, I know Art Tamilia started that, and I carried the legacy of having those reports due above the due date, and we compile those and submit them to DEP. And that is one comprehensive report for this region that ALCOSAN submits, and then all of the municipalities are included on that. So that was submitted by ALCOSAN March 31st and uploaded to DEP's online or on-base system. So that was an electronic submission. And so as far as the consent decree compliance and the Clean Water Plan, ALCOSAN has an ongoing quarterly compliance certification to the EPA, the DEP, and ACHD. And we also will be submitting our annual progress report in July. And that's an annual report since the beginning of the consent decree. And that's all posted on our website for, any time that you want to view that report. It's pretty comprehensive on the compliance of the consent decree. And we also have the municipal data and coordination report, which will be submitted in July. Our compliance schedule for the wet weather plan is in Appendix Z of the consent decree. It's not it's a short appendix. If you want to go ahead and view it, there's deadlines in that appendices for what we're required to do for the Clean Water Plan. And we are meeting those deadlines for that Appendix Z timeframe. So that update will be included in that annual report, which again is due in July.
Michelle, you scared me. I thought you were going to bring up the Z agreements there for a second.
Well, no, that would be, I guess that would be a Max and Karen thing. So fortunately, my world, Tim, has been compliance, regulatory compliance. So
Okay.
I'm in the safeguard on that. So, But yeah, if you have any questions about, where we stand, we are under a lot of scrutiny as far as reporting goes, and our transparency is all, submitted in documents that are for public viewing. So at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to talk more about compliance.
Are we in any peril of not being in compliance anywhere in particular?
Are we in any peril out? Is that what you said?
No, in any imperil. Is there anywhere we're not in compliance?
No, we're not. We have a pending Title V that we're working through with the Air Division, and a new regulatory requirement for sewage sludge incineration. So we are retesting a stack for 2 parameters on that, but that's not in a non-compliant status. So, a lot of times when we have to remonitor, it's for, just a recertification or a resubmittal, but not in a notice of violation or a non-compliant status.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions from Michelle? Thanks, Michelle. Update from Three Rivers Wet Weather. Dave, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here today. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for having me. We here at Three Rivers are continuing to work to help the municipalities understand their consent orders. And one of the parts that's a little frustrating is the communities do not seem to be able, some of them, understand that the orders that they're signing are with them. It had nothing to do with ALCOSAN. It was negotiated by Three Rivers along with a group of peers, attorneys and engineers. So that's one of the things that we've really in the last several weeks had to educate several of the communities on, that this is not an ALCOSAN order. This is an order that is directly with them and the regulatory agencies. We are continuing, all the communities on the separate SOAR, but 1 have signed. And I think there's about 3 on the combined SOAR community that haven't signed yet. On the combined SOAR side, we're continuing to work with Mike and his team there at ALCOSAN to see if we can do any adjustments in their percent captures that are a result of work that ALCOSAN has done since the baseline was created, and we've been able to do some adjustments for some communities that will help them in their compliance measures.
Dave, before you go on, I have a question, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is an issue that I think is important. You stated that the municipalities don't understand, I don't want to say it like this, but basically don't understand that their orders are not ALCOSAN's orders, but there is what do you call it? There's a collaboration there, but do they understand that this is their, what do you do? I guess that's my question. How do you say to them, like, hello, this has been going on since Arletta's son was born. That's the story I know, right? And so, and Tyler's in college now. So,
Well,
like, how are you handling that? This is like a great conversation for the advisory committee, because this is where, like, the board can step up to the plate and let everybody know this is theirs.
Part of the thing I've been doing is starting to go to the municipal meetings, reaching out. Arletta's staff has been great. Jeannie's staff and telling me when they hear issues on the street. And then I reach out to their engineers or some solicitors and have one-on-one conversations. It's a little disappointing that some of the engineers come to our monthly meetings and still don't grasp it. So I think it's just that education. And quite frankly, I've been around a long time too. I remember when this all first started, and we've come a long way, and there's still people who just tend to want to blame other people's. So, and I think that that's what we have to change. And really what we have seen in our meetings, and I think I spoke about this at the past, when we've asked individuals at our meetings to raise their hand who was around when feasibility studies were done, only about 50% of the people in the room raised their hands. and I think in the last few years, we've had a lot of new elected officials and that who have come in, a lot of new engineers, a lot of younger engineers. So we just have to really educate them on what it's doing. And I see some faces on here that do attend our meetings. So it's just that part of getting them out. And we have been making some progress with it. I guess a lot of progress, because we've got some people to sign orders that were reluctant to sign them. So it's a challenge, Darla. And like you said, I wonder where they've been for all these years that all this compliance work has been done. But we're working, and they are seeing, excuse me, they are seeing that there is a great cooperation between ALCOSAN and again, Mike's team getting us information on a lot of the work that is adjusting their numbers and educating. We've been able to go back to the compliance agencies, DEP and the health department, and get some relief on some of the language. Just basically anything that's written doesn't always sound good when it was written, but in practicality, it's not working. Mary Ellen, we were able to get her a little bit of relief, not as much as we had hoped to, but we got them some relief. We've got the health department to agree to a different type of nighttime monitoring for the flow isolation. So we are making a lot of progress. It's just, we just need to get it out more. I did speak along with Jeannie at the local government academy presentation. So we got a lot of the new ones understanding that it is there, but as a couple of them had asked me about planting trees, will that help? Well, I don't know if we could plant enough trees. So so we just have to educate them on more. And that's kind of where we're at. We'll continue to do it. We appreciate everybody's help, and we'll be more glad to come out and speak to any of your basins or your groups, whatever you need.
Hey, Dave, when will
It is very frustrating, especially to hear people don't even understand. Here we are, and,
Yeah.
and Tim touched briefly on our situation, and this isn't about us, but it is frustrating when you've been a community that's paying attention, spending a lot of your own time away from your position, my work here, to make sure my people understand and I understand. And
I think
we're still gonna get beat up and broke over the consent order in Aetna, and it just makes me feel like, what is the point?
One of the things that we've been working on is making sure that trying to work with the agencies that we're not double spending money. ALCOSAN is spending a lot of the same people's monies, so we're trying to get them to understand the two. We are going to start relying more, Mary Ellen, as you know, during our meetings, DEP emphasized to you the affordability part. So I think communities have to do that, like it or not. We at least know the ALCOSAN rates for the next 5 years, so you can project out your affordability even towards the construction time now, just on their rates. So those affordabilities now, like I said, like it or not, the rates are set. And so now you can do this affordability adjustments out to let people know. That only helps the combined SOAR communities. But I think the good word is that people are starting to mesh together, and that's what we need to do, that we all need to work together. And again, Darla, as you said, we fought this fight before about getting everybody to agree. It's just that whole new group that we have to get together, that we all work regionalization. I've worked with Mike's team on regionalization, and communities are starting to really understand the benefits now of transferring that those orders, the lines over to them. So thank you.
Hey, Dave, I think you mentioned that 4 municipalities have not executed the agreements. When will the regulators take action against those 4? And what will the action be?
Don't know, but they're getting antsy. I've had conversations with those 4, got one to sign it the other night after a few meetings attending. And I have 2 that I need to follow up, but I think we'll get them. And the objective here is to get nobody fined, just make sure they sign it. But Tim, that bothers me. If they're taking this long to sign it,
Yeah.
what are they going to do to apply?
And I'm following Mary Ellen's cue there that, that those who haven't executed, which means they probably haven't done anything. And those of us that are doing things are spending a hell of a lot of money doing it.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Tim.
Sorry, okay. All right, anything else for Dave?
Ruth Ann has her.
Go ahead, Ruth Ann. Sorry.
I just wanted to say that, it's a shame that the engineers aren't doing their jobs and educating these communities more, even on the new, and Dave, you are correct. We appreciate you speaking at LGA. And maybe if we do have this conversation and figure out the advisory committee and how we're to communicate or not to communicate with these municipalities, maybe we can help out with the educational process also, to keep that going and getting people more educated and up to date with what's going on, because it is really ridiculous that after all these years and everything going on. Plus, Dave, you are making me feel a little old when you said people didn't know they weren't around the feasibility stage. So I used to like you, buddy, but you're making me a little old today. But the bottom the bottom line is maybe this group somehow can help once we I guess I know everybody knows my position on that. I'm trying to figure out I want to be an advisory board to the board, but at the same time I can't advise the board if I don't communicate with my municipality. So I look forward to these conversations on how we figure this out, because I think it's really important. But do appreciate your efforts, Dave. You're always out there plugging for everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, because I do think it's important. And Ruth Ann's at an advantage where she is an engineer and others are not, and they can come from it from a municipal manager point of view. So having a standard message with the ALCOSAN folks makes a ton of sense, right? Because I don't think, well, with the exception of the ALCOSAN folks, I don't think there's many other engineers on the call.
No, and I think where we actually did hear from the engineers, and we relayed this over to Mike's team about regionalization, is the breakdown seemed to be between engineers and the elected officials. And some people are not grasping I'm sorry, some people are not grasping the overall cost that this is going to be to municipalities. And nobody has sat down and explained to them what it's going to cost. I did see an uptick when all of a sudden they got the orders. It became like, oh, this is for real. And so we just got some work to do. Thank you.
I'd like to throw that to Jeannie for just a second, if you don't mind, because I know she's been out there like a crazy woman with her staff, meeting with the elected officials or presenting at post agendas or whatever. So
Right.
What are you hearing out there, Jeannie?
Well, it is. It's, it depends on the relationship between the engineer and the elected officials. And we all know that can sometimes not be great or be tenuous. But what we're picking up is that it is the elected officials, and we have had a tremendous change in elected officials this cycle. Lots of people with great experience have left the boards, and some of the boards, Dave, I think Green Trees one has very few old timers on, if I could say it that way. The most of the newer people are eager to learn from the manager and from the other longer term leaders, but not all, and not all at all are interested in sewers. Historically, we've had some municipalities where when you wanted to talk about sewers, for instance, Trafford, everybody turned and said, Casey, what do you think? Because Casey was the sewer guy. So I think this is as much a function of how the boards have changed, and that they don't have that long-term information, nor do they have, maybe it's the trust, maybe it's just they're not engineers. I know that they didn't often run for office in order to learn about engineering and sewers, and are kind of shocked that that's what they've discovered when they're in office.
I see less animosity towards ALCOSAN, and I see more animosity on the points of connections where there's several communities involved. Recently at a meeting, and it really the execution of the order fell apart because of really the neighboring communities that they felt they were going to have to deal with. That was a big breakdown. So now they're starting to understand that they have to work with neighboring communities and how it can all fit. So maybe the good part is there's less animosity towards ALCOSAN and more animosity to those individual communities that we've been able to get a few of them to turn around. We've had some individual meetings, and once we get them into the room, they're understanding. So we just have a lot of work to go yet.
But on the other hand, when I've talked to the manager of regionalization, she is very hopeful that we are on the brink of getting through for a whole bunch of communities, right, Michael?
Yes, I mean, we're on the cusp. I mean, once we get through the permit searches and get the permits, that's the holdup right now, is really with the permit process and trying to get that all straightened out. And once that's all squared away and we get the permits in hand, that's when we execute the agreements. So, but there's a bunch in process right now.
Thank you. Jeannie, while you got the floor, why don't you discuss ALOM?
Sure. I want to thank all of the advisory committee members who came to the luncheon and or the ALOM conference. I hope you found it a helpful opportunity to reach out to people in your basin. I know the food was bad at our lunch. We're just going to try to correct that in the future. But recognize that Seven Springs has changed ownership, and so they're still in a shakedown situation. But I'd be interested in anything you have to say about particularly about ALCOSAN's role at ALOM. And I'm always big on hearing the criticism so I can correct it.
Jeannie,
I just wanted, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
Thanks. I think you did an excellent job. I really do. We just got to find a way to get people to shut the hell up at this thing. It's really hard to hear the presentation because the presentations by everybody, Tim, Mike, Kim, were very good, very informative. And those are the kind of presentations that we need to get to the electeds, not to this advisory committee.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to find a way to be
I'm sorry,
blunt and
Tim.
tell people. We got to find a way to be blunt at this meeting and tell people, you got to shut up and listen. You're getting a free lunch.
They were
Yeah, I
excellent
wanna reiterate
presentations.
what
And
Tim
as a
said.
moderator, Jeannie, you have a hard time. I've done it before, where when you tell people to shush or be quiet, they get all mad. They don't understand that you're just trying to get the crowd to listen. I don't know if you put screens all around or you say no food until you listen. I don't know, but I thought you did I've done that. It's a tough job. And also all the ALCOSAN staff, the presentations were great. That video with people talking, I mean, the information was excellent. It's just, I agree with Tim. It's very, very difficult to moderate that. And I'm sorry, Mary Ellen, I just realized I cut you off. I apologize.
Go ahead, Emmy.
And I think, Emmy?
Yeah, I would agree with what was just said.
Sorry.
I don't
I
like
got
that. It's
interrupted.
frustrating.
Yeah, and I suspect that some of the people were not actually with a municipality. They just kind of got in there because of the reaction. But in any case, we've now tried 2 different rooms to hold it in, both with trying to figure out the sight lines, the comfort, etc. Had we only had to provide for the people that had met the deadline for registration, the room we were in would have been fine, but I think it was too crowded.
Yeah.
I did want to.
We had a bunch of UPMC people at our table. They didn't even care.
They were looking for a better lunch.
Yeah, we had 3 UPMC people at our table. One took 2 of those swag gifts.
Yes, they did.
I guess I'm going to have to bring a whip the next time or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe just be restrictive about who you let in. If you
Right.
didn't pre-register, we don't.
Right.
I do
Right.
think I like Ruth Ann's idea of screens around the room. I think that
Yeah.
would have helped
Yeah.
because people couldn't see the people who couldn't see the screen were probably the ones that were more apt to have conversations.
Mhm.
And one more quick suggestion, Jeannie, and I know this, we're
Sure.
getting into the weeds here. You have that roving mic. Each presenter goes to a different corner of the room when they come up and talk. So you're moving it around so people know that, hey, they got somebody talking by them. Sometimes that helps too.
Right.
And the
and
shushing helps too. And I don't care if they get mad or not. I was banging that glass and people were giving me a stare. Let me tell you, I was saying, pay attention, but what can you do?
we had hoped to have it be more of a dialogue and more of us moving around the room, but when we got all those tables in there, it became pretty hard. But thank you so much for all of that, all of the comments. I did want to mention, because I did talk about rates, as part of the luncheon presentation, and I wanted to update you on just a couple quick issues from outside ALCOSAN that could possibly impact future rates. And one is Senate Bill 597, which we had flyers for, et cetera. That has not yet come to the floor of the Senate for a vote. It's scheduled to be voted on May 23rd. The Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Association has asked any entity that could possibly be impacted by this bill, they are asking them to provide an estimate of the increased cost in implementing the requirements of the bill. I'm going to be following up with what those requirements are in the bill and with any guidance I can gather about how to estimate those costs. And then ALCOSAN's filing comments to the US EPA about the financial capability assessment guidance. This is about taking care of the least fortunate and making sure that people can pay their bills generally. This guidance is not what we had hoped to have, and it is likely to add more complications to our already complicated way of trying to figure out the rates. So that could also add costs. As I said, we're in the process of sending comments in along with the national members of the National Association of Clean Water Agencies. I'll be sending out to you what our comments are once we finish them. We're on a short period that has to be in, I think it's the 25th of April. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on those two things. And again, thank you so much for all of your work in helping us reach out to our municipal partners and give them what they need, what we hope they need, they hope they want. And all of you really helped me design that curriculum and pull that off. So again, many, many thanks.
Thank you. An update from Marletta on the recent exciting issues regarding the appointments to the board. Marletta?
Mr. Chairman, as you put it, exciting. So over the last month, just a little over a month, the county executive has submitted names to county council for ALCOSAN board appointments that have generated quite a bit of activity. Yeah, that's quite a bit of activity, conversation in the municipal community, but also media interest. ALCOSAN board members are appointed to staggered 5-year terms. It's not a particularly complicated process, but it does require consensus between for the county executive, affirmed by county council for the city, the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, confirmed by Pittsburgh City Council. That's for each of their 3 board appointments. For the 7th member, which is a joint appointment that requires consensus among all 4. With that being the basic high-level overview, I have asked the solicitor to lay it out for the advisory committee so that it's understood. And if you have any questions, you can pose them to Max. Max, if you would.
Thank you, Arletta. Yes, this is similar to a report we gave to the board at the March meeting because of the news articles that were coming out. But similar to the advisory committee, ALCOSAN's board does not have the power to fill vacancies on its own board. Your townships, your boroughs, you've gone through that process when somebody resigns or moves out of your community. Your board can fill the appointment, has 30 days, goes to a vacancy board. There's a whole process and procedure that's set up that way so that you can continue on and operate. With the municipal authority like ALCOSAN, recognizing that the appointing authority are the incorporated municipalities, the Municipality Authorities Act provides for successors. And it does state that members shall hold office until their successors have been appointed and may succeed themselves, and continues on and on. So we have a scenario where if there is not an appointment made at the end of one of those staggered 5 years terms, the holdover member continues to serve until whichever appointing entity names the replacement for that seat, takes action and names a replacement or an appointment. We as the ALCOSAN board and advisors there, if somebody does submit a resignation to create a vacancy, we typically accept that at our meeting, much like the advisory committee has done in the past, and communicate that to the appointing entity that there needs to be a appointee to fill either the remaining term, or if it's somebody who's just naturally come to the end of their term, to start the new term. In this case, we did have 4 individuals that were up for reappointment. We had one from the county that was going to be a new appointment. Essentially, there's no role for the ALCOSAN board. It's not like we conduct interviews or do anything else along those lines like you might do at a borough or a township. We are reactive and we see who gets appointed. In this case, Jack Shea, who was a county appointee, was recommended by the county executive, went through the, I think it's the appointment review committee, which is a committee of the whole at county council, and was named to fill out the remainder of his term in this instance. Representative Harry Reedshaw, same deal. His term goes a little longer, I believe, till 2026. He was approved. Sylvia Wilson is a joint appointee between the city and the county, and as you saw, although she was recommended by the county executive, got through the committee of the whole at the appointment review committee, her nomination or her appointment failed. However, because there was no replacement nominee or appointee named by the county executive or county council, she continues to serve in a holdover capacity. In addition, because she is the joint appointee, that replacement will require an approval both by the county and the city. So right now she is an acting member of the ALCOSAN board and was recently named chair of the board back in February. Another appointee that came up, Representative Nick Pisciatano, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was not appointed. He was not a holdover. He was not on the board before, so his nomination has failed, and he has not been named to the board. County executive has made another recommendation, Council Member Klein, and that recommendation was referred by County Council to the Appointment Review Committee. So we're waiting to see what happens with that one. So that's the brief download as to how the board members are named to the ALCOSAN board. And because of those, as Arletta mentioned, the need for 4 entities to agree to the joint appointee and at least 2 of the entities to agree to each named seat, the Municipalities Authorities Act is written in such a way that that person who is holding the seat right now continues to serve until their successor is named, so you don't have a gap or an inability to function because the appointment has not gone through. So that is what we're dealing with, at least right now. Our information that we get is from news reports and otherwise. As I said, that there's no involvement from the ALCOSAN board in terms of interviewing or recommending or otherwise appointing individuals to serve on the board. I guess finally, under the Municipalities Authorities Act, the requirements to be an appointee are rather large. I mean, it's more so than just residency within your borough for a year before your appointment. It is anybody that either owns a business or is a citizen of an area in which the municipal authority has a project or provides a service. So we'd be looking at the entire service area. And so based under the 1989 amendments to our Articles of Incorporation, which set up the 3 city and 3 county and 1 joint appointee, we follow the Municipalities Authority Act otherwise in terms of where those appointees can come from. And as long as they are a citizen or a business owner within our service area, they're qualified under the Municipality Authorities Act to serve as a board member.
Thank you, Max.
Sure.
Any questions? Hearing none. Any updates from the Advisory Committee municipalities? No updates. Okay, our next scheduled meeting will be May 17th. Hopefully we'll
Excuse
have-
me, Tim.
Yes.
I realized that I actually had a typo there. I realized that when I was putting it on the normal date, that was the primary election. But actually, when we accepted the dates for 2022, we said the May would be May 24th, the following week.
Okay. Very good.
Sorry,
No
my
problem.
brain went asleep.
May 24th, if you're kind enough to maybe send out an email to everybody.
I will send out an immediate email to everybody.
We'll plug it into the calendars, and hopefully that meeting will be, let's plan on having that meeting face to face so that we can try to move things along. And we have an agenda item, which basically will deal with the efficacy of our ability to advise the board. That'll be the primary item of the day. And is there any public comment? Any public comment?
I did not receive any notice of public comment.
Hearing none. Anything else, Max? Anything for the good of the order?
Nope.
Nope.